The last thing we're going to take a look at here, and we'll get into this in much more detail as we go on, is laissez-faire economics. This is the last thing that makes us an industrial powerhouse in the second industrial revolution and gives us that gross national product. People at the time in the second industrial revolution really believed in what we call laissez-faire, that the government should interfere as little as possible with the economy. Now, I want you to think about that, because the government does interfere in the economy now. What do you mean, Mr. D, right? How does the government interfere in the economy? It's actually much easier than you think. Let's take cigarettes, for example. Marlboros. If the government did not interfere as little as possible, if we really had a laissez-faire economy right now in America, you could sell those Marlboros to a, I don't know, how about a kindergartner, right? Because you want to get them hooked young, right? You could sell those Marlboros using anything you wanted, right? Let's get some sexy men up there to sell those Marlboros to women. Let's get some sexy women up there to sell those Marlboros to men. Let's do whatever it would take to sell those Marlboros. Who cares that it gives you cancer? Big freaking deal. If it's a laissez-faire, the government will interfere as little as possible, right? Now, at the time, people really embraced this. Remember, we're talking about 1870 to 1900, and people didn't really realize just how much a government could do to protect its people. People who like laissez-faire, they want little government regulation, like I just talked about. They want supply and demand to set pay and price. But most important, they believe in a couple things. They believe that competition makes business better, so the more people that compete, the better business will be. And they believe in low taxes. All of these things, when you put them together, all four of those things, little government regulation, supply and demand, competition, low tariffs, what you should end up with are people having more money to spend. That's the idea. If you give all of these things, people have more money to spend. Of course, they might spend it on terrible things like, addictive chemicals, but they'll have more money to spend. This idea that you can get in there and do whatever you want to do to make some money, convince people to buy your product, that encourages entrepreneurs. And America still has a tremendous number of entrepreneurs, people that are willing to risk their own money to start a business. And think about now, modern day entrepreneurs, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. These are people who saw a market and they went out and they did what they had to do to get it. And now that they have a product, people are willing to pay and to look at advertisements so that they can participate, right? That's an entrepreneur. So if we're going to summarize so far, if we're going to take a look again at what we've talked about here, those four things, right? Remember those four things that make our country great. Those four things are going to be: 1, abundant natural resources. It's going to be 2, right? We have a number of inventions that allow us to produce more and be more efficient. We also have, of course, that large workforce, which allows us to not only have those factories running 24 hours a day, but also gives us high consumer demand. And we also have an economic system that embraces laissez-faire ideas that government should get out of the way so that we can be successful. And we'll do more work on this tomorrow in class.